The story opens not in the present, but back in 1999, on a cold New Year's Eve night in Switzerland. A younger, more reckless Tony Stark is attending a lavish party. He's not the Iron Man we know yet. He's a genius billionaire, but arrogant, self-absorbed, and careless. At this party, he meets two people who will unknowingly shape his future. One is Maya Hansen, a brilliant scientist working on a radical new biological regeneration project called Extremis. She hopes her technology can help regrow damaged tissues, cure injuries, maybe even change humanity forever. Tony flirts with her, curious but distracted. The second is a desperate, limping scientist named Aldrich Killian. He approaches Tony with an offer to join his company, AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics. Tony, in his usual arrogant way, tells Killian to meet him on the rooftop, but then he ditches him completely. Humiliated, Killian stands alone on the roof as fireworks light up the night sky. This moment plants a seed of vengeance that will grow over the years. Fast forward to the present day after the Battle of New York, Avengers 2012. Tony has returned home, but he's not the same man. The alien invasion, the wormhole, almost dying in space, it left scars. Tony Stark is suffering from panic attacks, nightmares, and sleepless nights. His coping mechanism? Building suits. Dozens of them. From the Mark I to the new Mark 42, his mansion is filled with advanced prototypes. But deep down, Tony is scared of threats he can't control. Meanwhile, the world faces a new kind of terror. A mysterious figure called the Mandarin begins a series of violent, shocking terrorist attacks around the globe. Broadcasts appear on TV, grainy, threatening videos where Mandarin speaks like a prophet of doom, condemning America for its sins. Bombings occur without any trace of bombs, just craters and dead bodies. The world trembles. Tony's best friend, Happy Hogan, now head of security at Stark Industries, notices something suspicious about a man named Savrin at a public event. Following him leads to a deadly explosion at the Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. Happy is critically injured. Tony, furious and shaken, visits him at the hospital. The press surrounds him, asking questions. In a burst of arrogance and rage, Tony does something reckless. He gives his home address on live television. "Mandarin, here's my home. Come and get me." The world watches. So does the Mandarin. That night, Pepper Potts, Tony's love and CEO of Stark Industries, confronts him about his obsession and paranoia. She's worried about his mental state. Suddenly, a strange man, Aldrich Killian, now transformed into a confident, rich entrepreneur, visits Pepper, pitching new technology. Tony grows jealous and uneasy. Moments later, the attack comes. Helicopters appear over Tony's Malibu mansion, firing missiles. The house shakes. Glass shatters. Tony barely has time. He commands the Mark 42 to fly onto Pepper first, protecting her, before switching to himself mid-air. It's chaotic, cinematic, explosive. Missiles tear through the mansion. The lab collapses. JRVS, Tony's AI, barely keeps up as Tony fights back, but the assault is overwhelming. Tony fires his repulsors, blowing one helicopter, but two more keep attacking. With no escape, Tony's house slides into the ocean, shattering like glass. He's dragged underwater in the wreckage. At the last moment, the suit activates emergency protocols, blasting him out like a missile. Tony Stark disappears from the world's radar, presumed dead by many. But he's not dead. The suit malfunctions and flies him across the country, crashing in Tennessee, far from home, far from Pepper, and far from the life he knew. The world believes Iron Man has fallen, but this is just the beginning. Tony Stark regains consciousness inside the damaged Mark 42 suit, lying in the cold snow somewhere in Rose Hill, Tennessee. He's far from Malibu, his technology is failing, and for the first time, Iron Man is stranded, both physically and emotionally. JRVS, drained of power, shuts down mid-sentence. Tony pulls himself out of the cracked armor, coughing, freezing, and exhausted. There's no media, no allies, no grand workshop, just a man in a broken suit. Dragging the armor behind him like a wounded soldier carrying a fallen comrade, Tony sneaks into a small-town garage. Here he meets Harley Keener, a sharp, mischievous young boy with a curious mind and a knack for mechanics. Harley isn't intimidated by Tony. In fact, he teases him. Their banter is both witty and warm, slowly forming a unique bond. Tony uses Harley's tools and garage as a makeshift lab, trying to repair the Mark 42 suit and uncover what happened in Los Angeles. Harley mentions a strange explosion that happened nearby, with no bomb residue found, similar to the Mandarin's attacks. This catches Tony's attention. He investigates the site and discovers scorch marks on the walls, and something more. Human-shaped craters, suggesting the explosions weren't caused by devices, but by people themselves. Tony meets the mother of a soldier blamed for the explosion. She believes her son wasn't a terrorist, that something else caused the blast. When Tony digs deeper, two dangerous individuals arrive. Ellen Brandt and Eric Savin, both enhanced with a strange, glowing heat inside their bodies. They're fast, nearly indestructible, and burn through everything with explosive power. Tony, with no working suit, is forced to rely on his brilliance, using improvised gadgets, homemade bombs, repulsor gloves, to fight back. After an intense, close-quarters battle inside a bar and town streets, Tony narrowly survives. Through Harley, Tony pieces together the truth. The Mandarin bombings are actually people infected with the Extremis virus, who explode when their bodies reject the unstable formula. Aldrich Killian and AIM are behind it all, covering up the accidents as terrorist attacks. The so-called Mandarin seems to be a figurehead, a symbol to distract the public from the real culprits. Meanwhile, Pepper Potts has been captured by Killian. Using Extremis, Killian has transformed into a powerful, fiery version of himself. Everything the rejected rooftop scientist could have dreamed of. He shows Pepper his ultimate plan, to use Extremis to create superhuman soldiers and control global conflict through fear. Pepper becomes part of his experiment, injected with Extremis to ensure Tony will come to rescue her. In another location, the Mandarin releases more threatening videos. The world believes this is a mastermind terrorist. But Tony's investigation leads him to Miami, to the Mandarin's hideout. With Harley's help, he rebuilds his confidence and creates a set of non-suit gadgets, tasers, mini-bombs, EMPs, proving that Tony Stark doesn't need the armor to be dangerous. Tony infiltrates the mansion stealthily, taking out guards using his intelligence and handmade weapons. But when he finally reaches the Mandarin, he discovers a shocking truth. The Mandarin is actually Trevor Slattery, a washed-up British actor hired by Killian to play a role. He's drunk, confused, and harmless. The fearsome terrorist is nothing more than a puppet. The real villain is Killian, manipulating the world behind the scenes. Tony is captured shortly after by Savin and Brandt's men. He learns that Killian intends to assassinate the president, blame the Mandarin, and install his own controlled vice president in power. Meanwhile, Colonel James Rhodes, War Machine Iron Patriot, is tricked. His suit is stolen by Killian's men, leaving him vulnerable. Back in Tennessee, Harley watches the news about Tony's capture. He's worried but inspired. Tony, trapped in Killian's facility, improvises once again. Using sheer ingenuity, he escapes his restraints, fights off guards, and summons the repaired Mark 42 suit remotely. It arrives in pieces mid-battle, snapping onto his body one part at a time, giving us a classic Iron Man comeback moment. With Killian's plan unfolding rapidly, Tony reconnects with Rhodey. Together, they uncover Killian's plot, an airborne kidnapping of the president aboard Air Force One. Using his armor's autopilot features, Tony saves 13 passengers who are thrown out of the plane in a breathtaking mid-air rescue sequence, catching them like a human chain before dropping them safely into the water below. The stage is set for the final confrontation. Killian has Pepper, the president is in danger, and the world is under threat. But Tony Stark, battle-worn, bruised, but smarter than ever, is ready to face the fire. Night falls over a massive shipyard, its cranes and oil tankers silhouetted against the flames of chaos. Aldrich Killian's forces have seized control of the location, transforming it into their stronghold. Suspended high above the ground, the president is strapped inside the stolen Iron Patriot suit, a living symbol of America turned into a hostage. Below, Killian's Extremis soldiers patrol the area, their glowing veins like molten lava beneath their skin. Tony Stark and Colonel James Rhodes arrive quietly at the outskirts of the shipyard. Both are without functioning suits, relying only on their wits and each other. Tony takes a deep breath. This is it. Everything he's built, everything he's lost, has led him here. He presses a button on his wrist, and suddenly the night sky lights up with streaks of fire. Descending like a fleet of angels made of steel, the Iron Legion, dozens of autonomous Iron Man suits, arrive. Each one is unique, built at different times for different purposes. From heavy assault units to sleek high-speed models, they surround the shipyard in a synchronized ballet of power. Tony, now in control of them through JARVIS, smiles with renewed confidence. "Rhodey," he says, "you get the president. I'll handle the fireworks." The battle erupts instantly. Extremis soldiers leap into the air, clashing with Iron Man suits in mid-flight. Explosions ripple across the docks. Suits fire repulsors, missiles, and lasers, while Extremis fighters regenerate from bullet wounds, tearing through metal like paper. Tony jumps from suit to suit mid-battle, each one snapping onto him like a second skin before being discarded for another. This fluid dance of armor showcases not just his technology, but his strategic genius. Rhodey, armed only with a rifle and courage, climbs aboard the crane to free the president. The Iron Patriot armor, locked, is a trap. He fights off guards with brutal efficiency, showing that War Machine doesn't need armor to be a soldier. Meanwhile, Killian appears, his body glowing like a furnace, veins pulsing with raw Extremis power. He moves faster than any suit can track, tearing through Tony's armor like it's aluminum foil. Tony switches to another suit, but Killian keeps destroying them one by one. The villain reveals his grand vision. By controlling both the terrorists and the saviors, he becomes the true power behind the throne. He doesn't want to kill Tony. He wants him to witness the birth of a new world under his rule. Rhodey successfully rescues the president, lowering him to safety as Tony engages Killian in a brutal one-on-one fight among flaming wreckage. The Mark 42 arrives just in time, snapping onto Tony as he delivers a powerful counterattack. But Killian adapts quickly, overpowering Tony and ripping the armor apart piece by piece. Then the worst blow comes. Killian reveals that Pepper Potts has been injected with Extremis and fell into the burning wreckage earlier. Tony's heart drops. He believes she's dead. His rage ignites like a reactor. Tony lures Killian into the core of the shipyard, trapping him inside the Mark 42 and ordering self-destruct. The explosion engulfs Killian completely, but when the flames clear, Killian is still alive, walking out like a demon made of fire. Then, from the collapsing structure above, Pepper appears, alive, transformed, glowing with Extremis power. She lands between Tony and Killian with the agility of a warrior. With fury in her eyes, Pepper picks up a metal pipe, kicks Killian back, and delivers the final explosive strike, destroying him for good. Tony stands in shock. His genius saved millions, but Pepper saved him. The shipyard quiets as the last Iron Legion suits hover around Tony. Looking up at them, he makes a decision. He calls out JARVS, Clean Slate Protocol. One by one, the suits self-destruct in a stunning fireworks display, lighting up the night sky. It's Tony's symbolic goodbye to his dependency on the armor. He's not just Iron Man. He's Tony Stark, the man behind the machine. In the aftermath, Pepper is treated to stabilize the Extremis in her body. Tony undergoes surgery to remove the shrapnel near his heart, something he once believed he could never live without. The arc reactor, which defined him for so long, is no longer embedded in his chest. He throws it into the sea, watching it sink. Tony reflects, "My armor was never a distraction or a hobby. It was a cocoon, and now I'm a changed man." In the final scene, Tony drives away with a quiet smile. No suits, no mansion, no certainty of what's next. But for the first time, he's at peace, ready to face the future as Tony Stark, the mechanic, the genius, the hero. As the screen fades to black, the title appears, open quote, "Tony Stark will return."